All right, welcome to my first virtual class overview. I'm Tim Ellis, and I'm going to be teaching you how to draw realistically. This is just kind of an explanation of what I'm going to be teaching you, how I'm going to be teaching you, so you can understand if this is something you want to pursue or not. If you end up liking this, I'm going to add a free class where you can actually practice some drawing skills next. So if that's something that interests you, let's do it. All right, check it out. Let's look at some work. So this is some of my artwork. I am a painter and a sculptor and a teacher. I've been making art for basically my whole life, and I've been teaching in a classroom setting for over 30 years, both in a private and a public setting. And I'm going to show you some of my work and some of my student work. You'll notice that my work is very abstract in the sense that the colors and some of the shapes and some of the dynamic shadows are not hyper realistic. So I don't want you to get caught up in the fact that although I'll be teaching you how to draw realistically, that is a foundational skill we'll build on and not the ultimate goal of all art. Here we go. So I also do a lot of clay sculpture. I'm very well known for that work because I did that most of my life and switched to my main media being painting in the last 10 years. So some of my sculpture is life-size. I did some public sculpture in the past. I did the maquette for this. A lot of my recent paintings are very tall, about 4 feet tall, and I like working very large. And notice the extreme color usage, the enhanced contrast. I like employing distortion a lot. So this is some of my work. I think it's important to see what your teacher can do before you decide to learn from them, to make sure that you feel like this is someone you want to learn from. So this is some of my work. All right. Let's see. Okay, let's talk about student work. So this is some student work that I've collected over some of the course of my teaching. If you end up wanting to see more of this, the last slide has some links that you can check out and see literally hundreds and hundreds of pieces of my student work, both pottery, sculpture, drawing, painting, all of the above. But right now what I want to show you is some of their pencil portrait drawing, and this is what I'm going to be teaching you. On the left over here, we've got a self-portrait done before I've taught the student anything. This is what I'm going to have you do in the first lesson. So I want you to draw yourself the best you possibly can, and this is what she did. If you notice on the right, we're seeing an insane amount of improvement. This isn't over the course of years of study and difficult lessons. This is by employing some ideas that I'm going to teach you over the course of about 27 lessons to think about drawing differently and to look at things differently. And it will completely revolutionize your drawing in as little as 1 month. My students normally take 3 months. So you can work at your own pace. This class that I'm offering is asynchronous, which is a word that became super popular during COVID when a lot of teaching became online, but it means you can work at your own pace. All the lessons will be online. You can just click the next one when you're ready for one. If you're a slow learner, you can watch it 100 times if you want and take as long as you like. But if you're quick and you want to zip through this, you can. All right, once again, on the left, you're seeing a before drawing. On the right, you're seeing progress in about 3 months. This is actually one that my son did. And I remember when he finished his before, he had said, "Dad, there's no way you're going to teach me anything. I already draw at this amazing level." And he was talking about this drawing on the left that I'm zooming my mouse around right now. And he was able to improve this much. So I think it's undeniable that improvement is crazy. This one on the left, again, this was a student that came in already drawing pretty well. You might not think so compared to her finished work, but that's a good drawing for a beginner. And a lot of my freshmen come in drawing at this level, like this one on the left, but her drawing on the right is at a masterful level of portraiture. And this improvement, again, is just over the course of what I'm going to be teaching you, about 3 months. Another one. And if you want to, I'm actually going to link this this slideshow so you can watch it at your own pace later on if you wanted to show it to a friend or rewatch it. Notice the one on the left. There's a lot of effort that went into this portrait, but her finished self-portrait on the right is impeccable. And the one on the left, obviously, there's a lot of what we would call symbols in this drawing. So the one on the left, great kind of caricature, anime, cartoon style drawing, but the one on the right is just amazing. Let's go and take a look at another one here. All right, just crazy improvement across the board. And this is what you can expect. I've been teaching for over 30 years, and I've taught this lesson many times. And students always are doubtful that they're going to improve, but they do. All right, stick with me. What I'm going to be teaching you is not a new idea, but it's something that was developed by a lady named Betty Edwards. I'll talk about this more in a minute, but it's based on the way your brain functions. And there's a we have two hemispheres to our brain, our left brain and our right brain. And I've got Jeff Spicoli from Fast Times at Ridgemont High representing the right brain here, and Mr. Hand from the same movie, if you've ever seen it, representing the left brain. Left brain tends to memorize things, recall things. It's the side of your brain that's good at spelling, that remembers appointments. Your right brain is more the one that kind of forgets appointments, that wants to stay and look at the beautiful sunset, that's creative, that listens to poetry, that writes music. So this is the way our brain functions, is kind of in these two halves. I'm going to click to another slide to kind of explain this a bit more. So if you look at all the words listed here under left brain, realistic, linear, analytical, logic, control, practical. On the right brain, you see free spirit, art, poetry, yearning, sensuality, taste, passion. Now, this is a little bit of a generalization, and a lot of modern brain scientists, which I'm not, by the way, will critique this as a very simplified version. And some of these functions happen in both sides of the brain, and you need both sides of your brain in order to make these ideas and things happen. But stick with me, because what we're going to be trying to do is incorporate both halves of your brain in your drawing, because up until now, you're probably only drawing with one half of your brain. So the reason I'm mentioning this now, before I'm teaching you too much, is that if you can think about things differently and try some weird techniques that I'm going to be teaching you, you will improve outrageously, like the students that I showed you. All right. One of the things, I'm actually going to skip this part right now, and I'm going to touch on this a little bit more in my first lesson. But generally, most people learn to draw with symbols, and I'm going to show you what those look like. So you remember drawing like this, and we get our refrigerators are probably full of drawings like this at some point in your life, or maybe you've done drawings like this, or maybe you still do. So we're taught to draw using symbols: rectangles, ovals, triangles. The sun is a circle, your house is a rectangle or a square, your roof is a triangle. And these are good things when you're in elementary school or kindergarten, because it helps students understand at the level they can with the development of their brain function, and they're learning words like rectangle and triangle, and it helps them to put together a picture really quickly when they don't necessarily have the dexterity with their hands or the cognition level with their mind to be able to make some very realistic drawings. So the problem with working with symbols isn't that it's a terrible idea, it's that it's limiting. And if you can't progress beyond symbols, you will find that you're incredibly limited in your own art, and a lot of people are. So that's what I'm going to try to help you to overcome, and I'm 100% confident that you will. Here's an example of drawing with symbols. This eye on the bottom right-hand corner is a very, very well drawn eye. The problem is, if you're drawing eyes with this sort of a method, or noses, or whatever it is you're drawing, but with a step-by-step process, you memorize a way to draw one version of something. And if you want to draw, now that looks kind of like a female eye to me. If I was to draw a male eye, I would have to have a different lesson, and I would have to have a different approach. And memorizing these things is the way most people learn to draw. But then what you have is kind of this database of information in your head, and you need to keep adding to that database in order to draw more things and add diversity to your work. Otherwise, you just fall into this terrible rut. What I'm going to be teaching you how to do is actually draw anything you see. So any photograph you look at, any person sitting in front of you, any landscape, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whatever you're seeing, you can draw or paint those things. And that is called observational drawing. And what I'm going to teach you is how to employ both halves of your brain using some very strange techniques to be able to do this. And I'll talk about what those are in a minute. So just to kind of bolster my point, these are some things I found online. And like, if you want to do anime drawing, this is a whole bunch of different eyes that you might employ depending on what you're doing. So if you wanted to be able to draw certain characters, you would memorize all of these shapes, or you'd have a reference sheet of them next to you, which once again is developing more and more complex symbols, which is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something very different. This isn't a bad thing. It's nice to have these tools if that's what you're doing. But if you have the ability to draw what you see, you're not going to be relying on this in everything you do. There are some professional artists and also a lot of people in art school that still will not or cannot draw hands and faces, and they will develop an entire art style that avoids hands and faces. And sometimes there's like a very complex artist statement that explains why they are doing that. And sometimes it's true, and sometimes it's just that people are so frustrated with drawing hands and faces. Two of the hardest things to draw in paint, hands and faces. So if that's hard for you, that's what I'm going to teach you how to do. You're actually going to be drawing your hand before I've taught you anything, and then you're going to be drawing it again after I've taught you a lot. You're going to be drawing your face before I've taught you anything, and then you're going to, like the ones I showed you, after I've taught you something, you're going to draw it again with great success. All right, let's click through a couple more of these. So with observational drawing, you build on the skills, you'll be able to draw anything you see. So notice you're looking at the objects on the left image and you're drawing them on the right. That's observational drawing. All right, so what is right brain drawing? It's a new approach to drawing. It was new in like the late 70s. That was based on brain function developed by Betty Edwards. So this is not my own research. We're actually going to be using a workbook that I did not create, but I did create a whole bunch of the lessons around this and also added a lot of supplementary information. So I have a link to where you can buy all of your supplies if you decide to follow through with this. And if that's something you want to do, I will be sending you out an email with all of that information. Anyway, much of the teaching involves thinking about drawing differently than students traditionally have. I've been teaching this drawing method for over 30 years. We're going to be using a workbook and some of my own worksheets and ideas, and I'll be teaching you exactly what I teach my students. So if you're someone who's seen my before and after drawings, like I just showed you that my students have done every year, a lot of people look forward to those, this is what I teach them. So you can follow along and learn this for yourself. Although I did not create this drawing method, I have created a curriculum around Edwards' key concepts and lessons that will produce rapid, incredible results, as you've seen. I did mention that some of her ideas have become a little bit controversial, but the bottom line is, regardless of how accurate her brain function analysis is, there's undeniable results in this method, because what we're really trying to do is incorporate both halves of your brain, all your perception, and learning some skills to be able to perceive things as we actually see them. And you'll have victory with that. All right, what can you expect with this class? There's a free lesson you're going to be able to try before you commit anything. I have some printable things that I can send you so you can follow along with the first lesson before you commit. The course is about 27 sequential drawings. Each drawing is essential, so don't skip anything if you end up doing my program. Do each drawing. Otherwise, you will be missing out on some key concepts. Every drawing will build on the prior concepts. A new drawing skill is taught in nearly every drawing that we're going to be doing, and you're going to be building a set of tools to use whenever you draw for the rest of your life. Unlike memorizing a bunch of things, you're going to have this skill set that you'll be able to use. You're going to improve some aspect of your drawing with each lesson, and you can progress at your own pace since the class is asynchronous, which means all the lessons are going to be online. You can watch and rewatch them as slowly or as quickly as you like, and really have some success with that. Okay, this next one. You may get frustrated, and that's completely normal. It's very normal to get frustrated when you're learning something new, and especially because I'm going to be asking you to do things you wouldn't normally do. Kind of like when you're doing a new workout, if you've ever been really physically sore or frustrated, if you've taken a dance class or started some new workout, it can be physically challenging at first. This will be challenging physically, but also brain-wise, and you're going to feel a struggle between your left and right brain. I'm going to touch on this more in my next lesson. You also might not see your improvement at first, but you will eventually. So there will be two big times when you're going to see your improvement. So stay with me, follow along in the lessons, and I promise if you go through all these lessons, do them all the way I'm teaching you, because it's possible to do them a different way and not benefit. You have to do them the way I'm teaching you because you're developing your brain function. Sounds crazy, but it's true. So there's going to be two big reveals where you're going to pull out the drawing you did before I've taught you anything and look at the drawing after I've taught you something. You're going to do that with your hand drawing, and you're going to do that with your face drawing. And those two times are going to be big aha moments where you see your own improvement. All right. If you do the work and follow the instructions, you will see dramatic improvement in your observational drawing skills. All right, let's click through here. Just a couple more things. This is one of the first worksheets we're going to be working on, and I'm going to be working from the book. I'm going to supply this one for you for free by email if you want to try it out ahead of time. This is another thing we're going to be doing. One of the things we're going to do that's very strange, but it forces you to access your right brain, is to draw this drawing completely upside down. And one of the things I'll be talking about in that is how to perceive those. I'm going to give you a bunch of tips as to what to look at. I'll give you this worksheet too, which will help you with this drawing. But just to kind of give you an idea of some of the stuff we'll be doing, let's touch on this, and then I'm about to wrap things up. Clearly, realism is not the ultimate goal, as many of the most famous and beloved pieces of art are quite abstract. However, being able to draw what you see is a foundational skill which will free you to create whatever you want without limits. I included a whole bunch of famous pieces of art here, none of which are photorealistic. They don't look like photographs. There's abstraction, there's distortion, there's surrealism, and this is all great art. And none of this art is really attempting to make super realistic renderings, right? But all of these artists had those skill sets so that they could build on them. If you've ever looked at Picasso's early work, by the time he was 12 and 14, he could render photorealistically. And a lot of people don't know that about Picasso, but that's why he felt so free to make paintings like this one on the bottom left, is because he had such confidence, because he knew he could draw whatever he wanted to or paint whatever he wanted to. And that freed him up to really explore the ideas and abstractions that he did in Cubism and the many other things he developed. So I don't want you to think that, hey, this guy wants me to stop my abstraction, stop my distortion, stop my exploration. No, this is a class to get you started in observational drawing. You'll have those skills by the end of these lessons, and then it'll help you in your own work, whatever that is. If you're a painter, a sculptor, if you're drawing, this is a pencil drawing class is what we're going to be doing. We'll be doing a little bit of charcoal, but overall, that's what you're going to be working on, and you will see that improvement. This is some of my student work. You'll notice some of it's hyper-realistic. Some of it is a little surreal on the left. If you end up wanting to see more of what my students have done, you'll notice that my advanced and AP students, which I have a lot of, tend to really explore crazy ideas, and you'll see a lot of different work. So if you want to click through these links, I'm going to share this presentation with you in my first email to you, and you can click through all of these to get what you need. If you end up wanting to do the class, there's some required art supplies that you're going to want to get. There's a video about my high school teaching program that Kern County did. They did a big feature on me recently, and you can kind of see a little bit more about me. My student work, there's a whole Facebook page of years and years and years of my student work that I've documented, and then a link to my website and my art if you're interested in seeing more of what I can do. All right, I'm excited, and if you want to follow up with me and definitely want to receive more information on this, you can email me. I'm going to post my email below this video, and contact me, and I will send you an email telling you how to move forward on this. All right, thanks a lot. I'm Tim Ellis, and I want to teach you some art.